Thank you, Louise. Thank you for all the kind words. And again, thank you to the community for being here. It's really good to kind of wrap up this session with you all. And I have some things that I want to share with you. And hopefully, if you have questions, this is the time to ask them in this forum. As I mentioned to Louise and Julia, that I'll be still a part of the Calgary Slack group. So hopefully, we'll stay connected there through LinkedIn, et cetera. Again, what a warm community. This has definitely been a highlight of the past 7 weeks or however many weeks it's been. And it seems like just yesterday when we had our first session. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen. I'll keep my camera on, but you all let me know if my bandwidth starts to get weird. I'll show you kind of our agenda of what I'd like to talk about today. Again, this is our final session. You can ask me anything, but I did have some things lined up. And maybe it will spark some questions if you don't have any kind of already lined up for me. I'm going to present how to hire a UX designer. And I'm going to talk a little bit, if you want to share your work, if you've worked on a prototype, we'll give you can give us a show of hands in just a moment of, if you'd like to present your work. No pressure, but it's good practice saying this was the problem, this is my solution. And if we need to, I'll time box it so that we have time to kind of go over the rest of these agenda items that I want to cover. Sorry, I have this highlighted. So we're going to announce the winner of the 1-year Creative Cloud in this session too. I realize this is a redundant list here. And I'm going to talk about how to get projects and create case studies, especially if you're a new designer and you don't have a lot of experience. And I'm going to speak to leveraging your LinkedIn and what that might look like. And yeah, so I'm going to jump right in before we do any presentations. So again, be thinking about, don't get butterflies because this is such a kind group, but think about if you want to present your work. But I'm going to do this presentation right now. This was a presentation that I created with the help of a colleague of mine, and she helped me put this together. And let's see, let's do it as a slideshow. All right, so hopefully you all can still see my screen. So I put this presentation together when I was teaching full-time at General Assembly, because I realized that, and this was, back in 2014, 2017, kind of earlier, where people weren't really sure about UX and why they need to hire a UX designer or how to hire one. And then I realized that this is also a great presentation for anyone who is new to design and wanting to understand what people are looking for when they're trying to hire a UX designer. So hopefully you'll find this helpful for you all. Y'all know who I am. So we'll skip this. So job titles, this is a big one, and I hope you'll enjoy this. Okay, what's in a name? So this person was one of my former students, and these are old screenshots. Their titles have probably changed. They've probably gone on to do other things. But anyway, this is the screenshot that I took a while back. So user experience designer, interaction design, another one of my former students, another former student, UX engineer. I don't know this person. This one is a senior user-centered design consultant. This one is UX product design and visual design, UX UI, the slashy. This one is a design thinker, interaction design. Let's go in there. Information architect. Let's see, UX information architect. So that's a different one. Human-centered design, human factors engineer, human computer interaction. Let me make sure I'm reading my things properly. Yes. UX strategist, UX researcher, UX writer. As you see, a lot of the work that we can do as a UX designer falls under a lot of different, sometimes even confusing or contradictory kind of words. And I think as a UX designer, depending on the size of the company that you might go and work with or team you might work with, you may find that you're wearing more than one hat. So you might be doing UI design and UX design. You might also be doing research and testing. When I first started doing UX design, I understood it as information architecture. And that could even just be a part of UX design, but it's interesting that you can kind of go into a niche with the kind of work that you do. Nowadays, I like the phrase product design, because that could be physical or digital. It doesn't really, you're not kind of beholden to one or the other. So I like that more kind of ubiquitous term of product design. So anyway, it's just kind of personal preference. It depends on the nomenclature at the place that you might be working for. Yeah, so anyway, hopefully that was kind of a fun journey, but they're all the same. Okay, so what is a UX designer? A lot of times people think it's interface and visual design, but what it really is all of these things. And I think I showed you all some of this in our very first session, but I thought it'd be interesting after you've done some of the work to kind of reflect back on what you've done. So this is a really big list here. Again, I said size of organization can matter on what you specialize in and what you do, the scope of the project. And I want to talk about experience level and this leveling chart here. So in this chart, keep moving our windows around because I want to see your faces. You know, again, these words might be somewhat different someplace else. It might be director, it might be VP, something like that. But it's the capabilities that I think is really helpful for you all to take a look at. I don't personally like junior designer. I think it makes people feel small, and you can be new to UX design, but you might bring a lot of valid experience from everything else that you've done. So you could be a career changer. And so to call you a junior at, you know, a later stage in life just feels kind of derogatory. But anyway, so, but in this stage, you're still learning. You're still feeling new to this work, and you're still building your knowledge. Your scope of your projects would typically be small, and you might want a lot of oversight and need it. Going up a little bit more, you have a little bit greater knowledge, more experience under your belt. You have basic knowledge of best practices. You've been working with somewhat complex projects. You still need some frequent check-ins and oversight just to make sure that you're feeling confident about the work that you're doing. And I think, you know, when you think about oversight needed, most designers that I know, especially emerging designers, they want to work in a team where they can be mentored, you know. So I think my ego got the best of me when I first started out. I was like, I don't need to user test my designs. First of all, I didn't want to be proven wrong. And second, I thought it would make me look ignorant. And I learned that it makes me look more ignorant not to test my designs and be sure about what I'm creating. So, I appreciate this feedback. In fact, even though I'm at the level I am at, I still love a fresh new perspective. I want someone who's not been told no over and over again about you can't do this, or no, they'll say no to this. Like, I like that fresh perspective. So anyway, hopefully it's wherever you work, it's a collaboration amongst multiple levels. You get in more to the senior designer, you have a deep proficiency in UX design practices and standards, and you can start to lead on projects. You still might be checking in with someone else, and then moving on up to lead designer. You have even more experience. You have a lot of experience creating solutions for challenging business needs. And, that sounds vague, but, at the earlier stages, it may be harder to kind of conceptualize business needs over and comparing that to users' needs. But you become more entrepreneurial, kind of strategic as you move forward. You understand that balance a little bit greater between business and user. And then moving on towards this one. It's just, again, this is a leveling chart. And at this point, you're probably leading teams, you're leading the leaders of teams, and you're more involved in, I'm going to say, executive decision-making. Hopefully you have a seat at the table at this level. That's one of the things I've loved to see in the evolution in this career path, is that more and more people are putting a VP of experience in, at kind of their echelon of decision makers. Something else I was going to say there. Oh, the other thing that I like about this career is that I don't feel like ageism is a thing in this, because the more life experience you have, the more knowledge you have just in general. And so I think this is a great career to retire on as well. Kind of you're older and wiser, and you need all of that experience to kind of inform your decisions. So, okay, let's keep going. I think I showed you all this last time in the very first session about where UX sits in an organization. And again, it sits, and I like this Venn diagram because it puts us right in the middle. It's very ecocentric, but it is, and if you think of that leveling chart, you might just be working here, but the more that you get deeper into the UX design process, you're seeing the whole big picture even greater and understanding how to put all those pieces together. We understand what UX design is. It's a combination between business goals and users' needs. The business is who pays you, and hopefully they're paying you to make sure the users' needs are met, because that means that the users will keep coming back to this business solution. Okay, these are the skills you need. And if you look back at and I'll post it again in the chat, our working document with all of our resources, these are the things that we talked about, even in our very, very first session. With our challenge that you all worked on, we didn't really have stakeholder interviews, but I shared some resources on how to do that. Research, comparative analysis. This is really important. I had a conversation with a client today, and they were like, I want help with the homepage. What would you do? And I said, well, first I would do research. I'm not going to tell you a solution right now, because while I might have some opinions, I want to make sure they're based on research and target demographic. And what does that demographic relate to? And what are your business goals? And how can that visual and content, how can that relate to the success of your business? So I'd have to do that research first. Personas, so we know who we're designing for. Scenarios, so we know what context we're designing for. User flows, so that we can think of a seamless experience for our end users or our customers. Sitemaps can help you figure out that user flow. It can also be a great way to diagram for development teams. But honestly, if I do scenarios and user flows, this kind of builds itself, especially if you're starting from scratch. So we talked about wireframing, sketching, low fidelity, high fidelity. Y'all did some prototyping. Testing, if you're not testing with your target demographic, it's not really user experience design. Although, if you're new to UX design and you're starting off, you might end up working for a startup, like we don't have time or budget for testing. And I had a colleague once say to a group of my students, she was like, even if they don't have a budget for testing, do it anyway. So even if it's your own guerrilla testing, you'll sleep better at night. And it's important to be able to iterate your designs and kind of let go of the ego based on that testing. And we didn't really get into benchmarking or data or metrics, but using something like Google Analytics and Hotjar, there's a ton of tools out there to, if you're working with a team for any length of time and you deploy something, benchmark what you did so that you can keep that in your back pocket for the next job and say, hey, we did this redesign and it moved the business goal needle and improved it by X%. So benchmarking is another great thing to understand and learn how to use that. You can also do analog even through user testing. And then presenting your work, which you all will have a chance to do in just a moment. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to do that, is so that you could kind of practice that soft skill. I can't remember if I said this to you all previously or not, but I'm going to say it again. I'm really an introvert, but I love public speaking. And the way that I enjoy public speaking is thinking that what comes out of my mouth is hopefully going to be helpful to whoever is listening. It takes my ego out of it, and I'm a helper, I'm a fixer. And when I come at it from that perspective, my nerves go away. So instead of, do they like me? I'm like, can I help them? And it changes that dynamic a lot. So something to put in the back of your mind. Can you facilitate design meetings and collaboration? Are you a good communicator? Are you a clear communicator? And do you have a passion for what you do? One of the things that I think is a great interview question to ask is, why did you choose UX design? And some people can say money. Some people can say, well, I was a visual designer, so I thought I'd just try this out. But find something about the UX design process that you feel passionate about. And is it solving problems for people in need? Is it you love user research, or you love prototyping, or whatever it is? So find the thing that gets you truly excited and be able to speak to that. What makes you unique? So one of the questions that gets asked a lot if you start looking at job descriptions, and again, depending on the size of the company, a startup might want you to, can you do the user testing, the wireframes, the high fidelity, the social media, and the coding? And I would say no, do not do that. Alan Cooper, there's an article here, and I'll share this presentation with y'all about why he doesn't believe that coding is part of the deal. So I think learning code is great for everyone because it's a language, it's an empathy, it's a way to empathize with developers. So if you understand HTML and CSS, at least you understand how you're wireframing stuff out and how they're having to code what you are creating. But it shouldn't be your main duty at your job, in my opinion. And I like this, and I'm just going to read it to y'all, even though you can probably read it yourselves. The coder is responsible for the safety, security, and efficiency and success of the program. The designer is responsible for the experience, the happiness, the satisfaction, and the success of the person who uses the program. Both of their responsibilities are significant and important, but they're not at all the same. The developer is responsible for the technology, while the designer is responsible for the user. Both have to be made happy for the business to succeed. So I think he summed it up very, very well. And this is someone, if you're not familiar with who Alan Cooper is, look him up on Twitter. Fantastic, very knowledgeable person. Okay, so people often ask this, what's the difference between UX and UI? And one of my colleagues said a letter. But anyway, UX, I love this depiction because if somebody doesn't know, this is where, I can say it's kind of the blueprint, and the UI is, the paint and the affordances and things like that. So I like this visual a lot. I don't like the one with the ketchup bottle so much, and I don't like the one with the grassy road and the concrete. And I'm like, I don't know that those are it, but to me, this is meaningful. Maybe you have one that you like. Hiring a junior versus a senior designer. Again, I don't like that word junior, but again, that's what's used a lot in the industry. Experience, who's willing to take risks versus complacency. And in my experience, the emerging designer is willing to take more risks than someone who has been on the job for a long time, because they get a little bit, I don't know. Again, if you've been in meetings with the dev team or higher ups, and they say, no, we're not going to do that, or we don't have time for that, or we're not going to track that metric, you can start to get a little bit jaded. But again, it can go either way. You can also be afraid when you're younger or newer to the career to take those risks. But I think formal education or not, to me, this is a skill-based field. Definitely, you need some foundational knowledge, but this is one particular field that you learn more by doing than by reading books about it. So the more prototypes you make, the more case studies or even sample problems you work through, or clients you speak with, and things like that, the life experience in the career is more important, in my opinion, than a formal education. And you'll see that a lot on job descriptions. I've known a lot of people that have escaped or have tried to escape actually being in the career because they didn't think they were ready. So they kept going to school, reading the next book. And I'm like, stop spending money on school and just go do the work. That's really what you need to do. So again, soft skills. Most every UX designer I know is very kind and a problem solver, and that's why they choose this career. innately those soft skills are usually there. They care about everybody. They want everything to be comfortable and move smoothly, whether it's in the organization or with the products they're building. The other consideration, speed of learning, passion, growth mindset. That's a great one. I think, again, are you curious to always learn and get better? Or are you like me when I first started, like afraid that I was going to be wrong? But I still wanted to grow and learn. Do you have a broad understanding of business aspects? Again, I think this is where it starts to get elevated in that career path leveling. The more you can understand business strategy, the better UX designer, I believe, that you become. You also get what you pay for. Does senior equal better UX? I don't know. You tell me. I think some people are just innately good at this work. I've had people come into this career path from medical background, from pizza delivery background, from marketing, architecture, social sciences, product management. Like there's no direct path into this career. So I think that, if you're not sure, I don't know, I'm new, I don't have a lot of experience, I'm guarantee you there's something in your life's path that has given you some experience and foundation for this career. And just learning how to tell that story is important. Okay. So it depends what your salary would be. And I know we're talking, I'm in the United States, you all are in Canada, but this is pretty typical. Now, I have paid some interns that were still in school. I paid them minimum wage, and they were working less than part-time, and they were getting mentored along the way. So I have paid a little bit lower than 30 an hour, but soon after they finished school and finished their internship, I was able to increase their salary to $40 an hour very quickly. So in the beginning, you might not be making as much as you would hope, but it doesn't take long to get to elevate this. And it also depends, do you work for yourself? Are you on salary? Do you have benefits? There's a lot of different factors to consider here, but it is a very great, well-paid career. And it's something that you could technically do anywhere on the planet. So that's the other reason I love this career. When I first started and I finished design school, I was like, I'm going to go live on the beach in Thailand and drink young coconuts and eat pad thai. And I guess a lot of people have done that since I imagined it, because there's a lot of people in Chiang Mai who do that, and they have one of the fastest internet speeds in the world. So anyway, you could do this from anywhere, and the pandemic helped prove that as well. Okay, this is old. This is really old. What date is this? 2015. So this is outdated. I apologize. I haven't updated my slide. But the average base salary of UX designer, even in 2015, was about 96,000. And the job openings were about 2,000. Now it's hundreds of thousands of jobs. It's crazy. So one of the reasons I leave this here is to show how much it's also changed over the years. So let's see what my next slide says. Again, this was 2017, 2,000 salaries. I bet you if we looked on Glassdoor right now, there's going to be a ton. In fact, we're going to do a quick look after I'm done with this presentation. I have some links here for you all, some articles that I wrote. And yeah, that's all I'm going to show y'all here. Again, I think I have another link on an article I wrote. But let's just take a look real quick, because I think people really want to see that. Did I close that? Hold on. There we go. Here we go. Let's take a look. Let's look at Glassdoor together, y'all. So if you aren't familiar with Glassdoor, it's one of my favorite ways to look for jobs. To be able to really find jobs and what's out there and do a little research, you have to put in you have to kind of tell on a company, not really tell on them, but share what your role was and what you made, and rate that company. So let's look for UX designer. Let's look for jobs. And we'll do Los Angeles. Let's check this out. So this one goes up to 169 or whatever. But let's go to this one. Let's go to salaries. Am I logged in? Let's see. I guess I am. Let's see. Let's try this out. Okay. So this is the average UX designer. That's not too shabby. That's pretty darn good. And pay trajectory. Notice how this can change again, depending on where you're at. Let's go here. Let's check out this career path. But I really do appreciate Glassdoor because it feels really relevant. Relevant? Don't even know if I'm using the right word. Relevant. There we go. You know, and it can go even higher, and it just depends on the company that you're in and their budget and everything else. So when you start off, it might be a little, but over time you will, your salary will grow and grow. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and see if anyone would like to present their work. And I'll stop presenting. And if you would like to share your work with the group that's here, I just give a hand emoji reaction. And no pressure, no one has to show their work. Okay, Celia would like to show. All right, anybody else? All right, we got Carla, Celia, anybody else? And you can type in the chat too if you can't find the emoji piece. Okay, all right. Well, we have 2 takers, thank goodness. So what I'd like to do is, I'm looking at our time. I'll give you all each 5 minutes to present your work. Okay, and I'll set a little timer. So let's make sure that you can share your screen and let us know if you cannot. And we'll have Julia or Luis set that up. So Celia, you raised your hand first. So let's go ahead and take a moment and let us know when you're ready. I'm just going to.
Good. I'll just set up the screen share.
Perfect. And I've got my timer ready. And so Celia, you know, don't be offended if I cut you off. Not that you're not doing a good job or anything. I just want to make sure we have time for everything else. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. So actually, I'm not. Tell us again, kind of the scenario and maybe a little bit about your research and your solution. Okay.
Sure, sounds good. So I guess this project it has kind of like 2 end goals. One was to build the coffee app, but another of my goals was to try some things I've never tried before in XD. So there's just a little there's 2 competing goals there. I did some pretty targeted research, and it was there's members of my own family. We do use the Starbucks app a lot, and so we sort of sat down together and talked about things we didn't like about it, basically. And 2 things that came out of that discussion were that it's very hard to know what your account balance is before you actually get into the ordering process, and then you have to you don't have enough and you have to top up, and it's just not a very it's not a very convenient flow, and so I wanted to address that issue. And then the other thing was that if you want to customize your drink, like not order directly off the menu, but you want different add-ons and like milk and shots and whatever, it's a little bit complicated to do that too early. It's not sort of immediately obvious. So what we thought would make the Starbucks app better for our purposes anyway was having a very clear account information on the homepage, and then also a really clear way of being able to make our own drinks from scratch that we liked. So this is did the screen share work? You can see it?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So this is kind of like my solution to that. I just thought if we had the account balance up in front and center, that'd be really nice. Another thing that's kind of cool about the Starbucks app is being able to sort of load your offers. And so I kind of put, you could redeem these offers and they'll be ready for you when you go to your checkout. I'm going to start off just by showing you like the menu, viewing the menu. And so you could sort of go along here and maybe you want to add some things to your order and you could. But at the bottom, and check out from there, of course. But at the bottom, I had a sort of a build your own drink option. And so to have like a more customized experience where you can sort of pick your size, you can decide how many shots, if you had one flavoring or some other add-ons. And I forgot to actually add milk to that drop-down menu, but you know, that kind of thing. And so then you could add this then to your order too and go to your checkout. And so I just sort of have a dummy mocked up there, and give you like a very clear itemized list of all the things you've added to your order. And so from there you could place your order, or maybe you want to add some more things from the menu. But I just have like a placed order, and then this is where I tried to use the video background, and I don't know, it's a little bit grumpy sometimes, but yeah, you could have your sort of checkout screen there. So that was sort of the flow that I worked through, and just what I was kind of experimenting with.
Amazing, Celia. I don't have any negative feedback at all for you right now. I love how you started the presentation with what your goals were with the project. And that really set the stage for us and what we were seeing and observing. You did a great job talking about the research that you did that automatically built trust in us as we were, listening to this. And you probably aren't able to see the chat. But you're getting a lot of agreements. Regular at Starbucks, I totally agree with you. This is absolutely true. Great observation, Celia. Amazing insights from your family. And I have just feedback on the XD, because being able to do drop downs is kind of tricky. Like once you figure it out, it's cool, but it's a little bit of a trick there. And what a great time to add in video, like while they're pouring your drink. That's a great idea. Like, oh, they're actually making it. I can see it happening. So really great use of context and when to add in something like video there. So I love that you were playing with the prototype, just making in and of itself, but also creating a solution. So you definitely, as we say, killed two birds with one stone.
Well, thank you.
In this effort. Yeah, this is
Thanks
really,
so much.
Yeah.
Thanks,
excellent.
everybody.
Thanks for sharing this with us. I really appreciate it. And you did it in less than 5 minutes. So fantastic. Was there anything else that you wanted to show us, Celia? I didn't mean to cut you off if there was something else.
No, that was my basic flow there. I didn't get too wild. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Perfect. Great work. All right. I think my chat is covering the other person that wanted to go. Was it Carla, I believe, that wanted to present?
Yeah, I can go ahead.
Awesome, Carla. All
Turn
right.
my video. Hi, everyone. Okay. So my app was on the thought of people who wanted to find a nice drink and a nice cafe to go to, maybe sit at. I love sitting at cafes, and I wish you could know the Calgary coffee scene here, Jill. We have a great coffee scene. So can you all see my screen there?
Yes.
I'm actually going to rewind that and start off with my loading screen. Once it comes back, oh, it's just not starting where I want it to. So just going to try that again.
I think normally this is where, if I were a new designer, I'd be starting to sweat. But if you've done this enough times, you're like, this happens.
Technology in the Zoom age.
Yeah.
So I started with a loading screen, and I learned about Lottie files from you, Jill. So thank you. So, and a big premise of one of my goals with this was to learn how to use these micro interactions to provide some delight. And so this would be where you'd land after the loading screen. And I thought it'd be nice to find out what seasonals and specials we have going on at Sought and Found Coffee Roasters, Monogram, or Rosso. These are all current specials they have now. So if anybody's interested. And you can scroll through them by pressing on the buttons. I decided to separate some categories into top rated, your favorites, and new and notable for people to discover new cafes, or if they wanted to, they could just search for a cafe. Now, I didn't build that page out, but say you wanted to order from one of these cafes. I decided to try a non-conventional menu where you'd kind of flip through and it would show kind of a representation of your drink. You would choose, I didn't build out these pages, but you would choose, whether you wanted to see some coffees or teas, food or other. You could choose your cup size, milk alternatives, add to order. The idea is for you to visit the cafe, so you would choose whether you want to stay or just grab your drink to go. Got your order details. You could edit your order, go back, and you can confirm your order. And then you'd go to get your drink in 15 minutes.
That's amazing. I love it. I'll just read the comments to you because you're presenting. Let's see. Sarah's like, I love the loading screen as well. You can tell you have some good prototyping skills. This is so cool. Really nice animations. Wow, super. Really enjoying the app experience. Someone was like, I want coffee. I want a coffee. Again, animation, amazing animation, awesome animations. And I'll throw in my 2 cents there. Love the Lottie, yes. And I like how you leverage scroll groups and you used great principles there on if the content is kind of peaking, then the user knows there's more information to kind of go through. So great job there. And I think also with this app, you're like, I didn't prototype this out, and we never prototype out everything. And then it's just impossible. You might as well code it at that point. But you left enough of an understanding of what other things you could possibly do. So I think that's another way to kind of keep the scope in check is like, okay, well, I'm just going to give a nod that you can find this location and those types of things. So again, really thoughtful work here. Yeah, everyone who presented.
Thank you so much for your time and feedback, everyone.
Yeah. Good job, my dear. Okay. And it was somebody like Uber Eats for just coffee. I like that. Yeah, you all really put in the work, you spent the time, and you've invested in yourselves by doing this. And I think this is, again, what's been such a pleasure about working with this group. All right.
Jill, do we have time for one more?
I think so.
I
Yes.
believe Greg is interested in presenting.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, go for it. I'll set the timer.
Okay.
As soon as you start sharing your screen. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the concept and your solution.
All right. Sorry, I'm just having trouble sharing my screen. Oh, there we go. All right. That didn't start exactly where I wanted it to. I interviewed a bunch of friends and colleagues, and it was all very boring and just all Starbucks, and I wasn't interested in doing that. So I had talked to some old grumpy uncles, and they just want a damn coffee. So I just came up with a concept for a coffee shop with a very limited menu and just a very simple, old-fashioned, clear to use for an old geezer kind of interface without all sorts of guessing. And so there's if you have an account, you can enter it, and then this will take you in. If you just want to, if you're a newbie, you can just order Let's Go or sign up. These are not all active. If you want your regulars, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry. Okay, sorry.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so here's the regulars list of things you've ordered in the past. So if you want another cappuccino, I didn't animate these counters, although I did practice how to do it on the side. I just lost the time to put them in. Pay me. There's a credit card. I didn't have any account balance, features like on a Starbucks card. When, now, inside, sign out, grab your coffee and get lost. Anyway, so or you can just order, or you can just, there's multiple ways of ordering. So I need to change is just starting from scratch. Pay it counter, the total due. Yeah, you can just order from these as well. I mean, these would all be clickable. I just made this a medium so that the price worked out. And the amount of options didn't really change. Anyway, I'd never used XD before, so it was all just fun and learning, and all very silly. So
Greg, this is awesome. I'm going to read some comments to you. Typing animation, that was one that I liked as well. You learned that. That's not easy to do, and you did that for typing in the name. People are loving the sense of humor that's here. Grumpy Joe and what was it? The personality there, real images, Grumpy Joe, Tim Hortons little twin. Yeah, I think everyone loved the content and the concept here. I love the got your money, like give me your plastic, got your money. They're just kind of rude,
yeah.
there's no yeah, they're not messing around here. I'll just hurry up and, like you said, give me some coffee. You had hover states, you had a lot of animations there, you had kind of a toggle state there on and off. So you definitely spent a good time understanding how to use the tool. You told a funny story at the same time, and yeah, grab your coffee, get lost. It's hilarious. So it's delightful at that moment, it's like, okay, there's different ways to add delight into design and user experience design, and you definitely found a way to do that here. And I remember seeing images of your prototype and just all of the branching logic that you had, and I can tell all the hard work and thoughtfulness that you put in there. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Jill and Lewis. It's been an amazing experience. I just didn't know where to start. I've been interested in this UX thing and in the community for 6 or 8 months. I all sorts of theoretical books on inclusive design, blah, blah, blah. And I was exactly the person who went back to the books instead of actually just doing something. So
I need to start my timer. I love that you can relate to that, because we get a little bit scared, and do I know enough to really get started? And I'm so glad that you had the courage to just jump in. And again, this is such a great community to do that with, and the in-person and remote sessions that Luis and team have set up. So yeah, thank you to all 3 people who were kind enough to share your work. And selfishly, I love seeing it because that gives me I don't know, not pride, but like, okay, I put some information out there and it was useful to people, and so that gives meaning to my life. So thank you all so much. Okay, so now the people that presented aren't the ones necessarily who is going to win the Creative Cloud, but I'm wondering, Luis, do we want to hold off to the end, or should we do that now?
Oh, it's completely up to you. It will not take too long, but yeah. Do you feel like we keep them in suspense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think let's go ahead and let them know who won the year of Creative Cloud. And then I started thinking too, I'm going to add a last minute thing on the fly here, Luis, and you and I will work this out. But I would love to give away an hour of mentorship to someone for their career as well. So we'll use the same random drawing thing that you had. And we'll figure out how to get that. Maybe we look at the attendees from this last session. And go from there. But I'd love to give away an hour to someone.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, what was the methodology? At the end of the day, it was meant for people that were going to do the job, that put their soul and effort into building this. And if you didn't win, yeah, I think the most valuable thing is the work that you put, what you have learned. And also, yeah, since you're going to be on the spreadsheet, I have to tell you something else. We are going to promote your work, So Calgary UX has already a platform, has a social media presence, and we are going to promote your portfolio, your profile. We want to have a visibility on all the eyes on you. So yeah, I think it's very important to put the spotlight on the people that delivered and they want to do a great thing with their lives, So I'm going to reach out to all of you, and I'm going to ask a couple of questions. If your portfolio is not already there yet, no worries. We're going to space out we're going to schedule that. So maybe by the time that it's going to be your turn, your portfolio is going to be ready. Maybe it's never going to be ready. It's completely fine, but there's still eyes on you. That's the whole idea. And this is the time where I'm going to reveal the winner. And now this person, I was doing some background check. She had been at 7 Calgary UX events, and I've seen her in a couple of those workshops. And it's not in Calgary, it's in BC. So it's going to go all the way to, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it well, to Squamish, Canada. And it's good to Roxanne. Roxanne, please turn on your microphone. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, I don't think I updated my profile. I just recently moved to Ontario. So now I'm in Toronto, but I was living in Squamish, BC.
We cannot deliver to Toronto. I'm so sorry. No, Jackie, of course. Yeah, okay, fantastic. So this is what's going to happen next. I'm going to send an email to connect you with our amazing community manager from Adobe. And she's going to take it from here. And most likely pretty soon you're going to have full access to all the good stuff Adobe has. And yeah, really looking forward to see anything that you're going to be building. So please feel free to keep on sharing. And yeah, I couldn't be more excited, right? Because at the end of the day, the tools are just the start. So whatever you're going to be doing this year is really full of possibilities. So thank you so much, Roxanne. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Celia. Thank you, Katia. Thank you, Greg, Brooklyn, Grace, Carla, Ian. And yeah, thank you all of you for maybe not being part of this, but being part of this workshop, right? So I think this is the most important thing, just what you have learned from Jill. And yeah, as I said, please be ready. I'm going to kind of like start sending you emails so you all get a bit of coordination on what to do next. But hey, yeah, I'm so excited to see what's going to happen next. So this is really, really fantastic.
Yay, congratulations, Roxanne.
Thank you.
So I do have 2 more things I wanted to chat with y'all while I have a few more minutes. The first one's going to be fast. So I'm going to share my screen because I talk better with pictures, and I'll close this out. So we announced that how to get projects and create case studies to build out your portfolio. So this is something I get asked a lot. And I don't know, I feel like I talk about it so much. So forgive me if I've already said this to you all. But one of the things I encourage people to do are design-a-thons or hackathons. That's a great way to boost out your portfolio and build a case study, because you have to do a presentation at the end. Another way to build out case studies is to find perhaps a nonprofit that you care about, something that you're passionate about. you can even cold call them, say, hey, I'm a UX designer, you, depending on what their needs are and what they're working on. If their website is not really great, you're not getting conversions, maybe you can build them a site very simply on Wix or something else to kind of help them with that, depending on how, what their needs are. But, ultimately, you can offer to give them your design services, especially if they have a development team or if it's something you could build yourself. So it's really, again, going back to the hiring process and interview process. If you have a project that you're passionate about, that you loved doing, and it meant something to you, you're going to speak to that in a different way than if it was a client project that you hated. So finding projects that you're passionate about, I think is really, really important. So that's my first one. The other one is, sometimes people go to family. If you work with family, get a contract. So it's hard working with family and friends. And, if you're new to the design world, say, hey, I'm practicing the end-to-end experience of being a freelancer or a contractor. If you don't contract. So, but another thing that I've offered to people, and it still needs help. Oh my gosh, I forgot what I was at. Oh, I was signing up to start a water service at a house, and the website was so bad. And I'm thinking, okay, they need help, and they make money at this place. So veterinarian offices, their websites are often bad. Dentists, lawyers, I'm trying to think who else. I don't know. So anybody in the service industry that is not a tech service often needs help with their websites, and even restaurants, they need help. So, don't be afraid to cold call and say, hey, I'm a big fan of X, Y, and Z. Like if you love the restaurant, I'm a UX designer. I could do it for, maybe X amount of money, just kind of redo it a little bit so it looks better on mobile, et cetera, et cetera. But you all can figure that out. But those are the routes of starting out to build projects. The other one is a passion project, and that is for a brand or a service that you love, and an app that needs to be a little bit better, kind of like Celia did. It's like, okay, well, I took the Starbucks app, and these are the things that I didn't like about it, so I added in the things I do, everything else, and write a case study about it and see how that goes. Because I think if you are solving, that's kind of free work, honestly, in some ways, but maybe you want to work for the Starbucks design team. Maybe that's a place you want to go. So think about that. Maybe it's Nordstrom's, maybe it's the Gap, maybe it's Amazon. You can take an existing product and make it better and make a case study out of that. And so that's just another way to build it out. And you can follow the full process. You can user test, et cetera. Probably wouldn't have stakeholder interviews, but you would be designing just for the user in that regard. Okay. The last thing I wanted to speak to y'all about before we wrap up is leveraging your LinkedIn. And this will be pretty fast. I'm going to show you my profile, and I'm happy to look at anyone else's profile if you want me to take a look at yours before we close out the session. But one of the things I wanted to show you that I've done with mine, and LinkedIn has changed over the years. You can have some featured articles here. I think I just updated these the other day, but this turns into basically a resume / portfolio if you leverage it the right way. And you can talk about what you did. Again, you can have certain things that you did under that company or that team. You can have, I'll show you the rest of my experiences here. If I don't even know if anybody goes down this far, but this one at Dex One, I had a video and metrics, having some type of metrics talking about how you move the needle is really important. And I worked at this other startup when I first started officially in my design career. And, I had all of these apps that I worked on for second screen television. And I was able to kind of show this piece. So instead of keeping up a portfolio, which causes an existential crisis, I was just able to add these links to this media or these things inside of LinkedIn. So this has made my life a lot easier. And the other thing I've done, and hopefully no hiring person is looking at this, but maybe they are, not that I'm looking for right now, but if I want to, like, I can go here and, oh wait, I want to go here. I want to go more. I can save this as a PDF now. And if I don't want to work on my resume, this is my resume, y'all. So, if it's up to date and has the descriptions that you need and everything, you can come here, download your PDF, upload it to a resume portal, whatever you need. So, a lot of times people spend a lot of work on crafting their resume, but they even have a resume builder. I don't know if this is true for every level in LinkedIn, but you can do this here. I haven't gone down this path yet, but anyway, this is there inside of your profile. And then the other one is connect with each other on LinkedIn. If you've worked with anybody on a product or a project, even if it was just for funsies, give each other recommendations. Talk about that. To me, recommendations mean a lot. If I'm looking at someone's, if I'm considering hiring them, I'm going to see, what types of things people are saying about them. Of course, you're only going to post the things that are nice, but it does give a little insight for me as well. The other thing is join groups like this one, like Calgary UX on LinkedIn. I've connected with a lot of really interesting people through similar interests. So let's look at groups here. I'm just in a few groups. I'm really enjoying this group right here. Some of the stuff that they post is really interesting and cool. It's not noise. It shows up at the top of my feed, and I'm like I said, I enjoy it all the time. There's Interaction Design Association all over the world. You can join one that's close to you. This, I guess, is the global one. And you'll find and meet interesting people through these groups as well. If you are looking to apply for a job at a particular company, follow that company. Connect with the people that work there. Find people that may have the job title that you're hoping to have. And there's unobtrusive ways to be like, hey, I'm thinking of working there. Can you, any tips or something like that? Don't be afraid, because it breeds familiarity, and people, if they see that you're connected, even if you're a second connection, they're more apt, I guess, to reach out or consider you. I think the first 2 jobs in my career where someone found me on LinkedIn. I wasn't even looking. So, building out the LinkedIn profile is important. It can get expensive these days. I'm grandfathered in to to a very old pricing model, and I'm not changing it. I can see who's looked at my profile. That's about it. But anyway, and if you are on the job search, I think it's worth paying it for a month or 2. But I don't work for LinkedIn, but that's just my 2 cents there. And, social media is a time suck. But maybe there's a few things that you find that are intriguing here. Maybe scroll for a few minutes through this feed. There's every now and then I find something like, oh, that's cool. Or even supporting your community. They post something, they like something, it helps elevate everyone. So, figuring out, again, don't spend too much time. There's just so much information, and, we're already on computers all the time anyway, but leveraging LinkedIn, I think, is really important. And in some ways, I would almost create your LinkedIn profile and build that out before you even work on your resume or your portfolio. Just saying, unless your portfolio pieces, if you have articles that you've written as case studies on Medium, then, write those and then add those in. But, these days, I think, yeah, you probably need a resume, but not all the time. But you definitely need a LinkedIn profile. Everybody's going to ask for that. So don't be afraid to connect. I remember when LinkedIn first started, it said only connect with people you know and that you've worked with. Well, that's not what's happening anymore. If anybody has UX designer in their profile and they reach out to me, I'm going to connect with them, because I want to, increase that community reach. And, I kind of feel the same as far as it goes for you all. So I'm going to stop chatting there. I'm going to stop my share. And any questions from you all? Again, I'm going to stay a part of the Slack channel. So if you don't have anything now, that's cool. But anything you want to ask me live about career or education or about the UX process, now's a good time in this group. And if I can't answer it, maybe somebody else here can. So any questions from you all?
I have a question, Jill.
Yes.
Do you have experience hiring designers from Canada? like in the States?
Do I have experience? I'm trying to think. Hold on just a moment.
Because I'm just wondering, a lot of the UX design positions are remote, right? And so
Mhm.
when you see that companies in the States are open to hiring remotely, and then one of the checkboxes is, are you legally entitled to work in the US? The answers that
Mm,
I've heard from senior designers are technically yes, because you're not going to the States, but
mhm.
wanted to hear if you've had any experience on that.
Okay, well, I think there's a loophole here. And that loophole is if you are self-employed, because I have clients all over the world. I've had them all over the world. And I can do that because I'm my own company. And I think if you are going to be salaried, they need to be able to, you're going to file taxes under, America and things like that. It probably depends on the size of the company as well. Smaller companies may not have the HR capacity or even legal capacity to do that. I don't have experience with that, but I'm just thinking out loud that I think, again, if you're your own company, you don't have to worry about it. It's just how
Okay.
are you going to pay? Just invoice them, and they don't have to worry about health insurance and
So you'd be more of a contractor then.
definitely. So I think if they're open to that, and honestly, it's cheaper for companies, especially US companies. Someone could prove me wrong on this, but when you hire an employee, there's a lot more cost associated than if you hire a contractor or freelancer. So I created Digital Karma just for that reason. They pay the company and the company pays me. I'm technically an employee, only one employee, which is me, and I hire contractors to work for me. So it keeps my business and paperwork simple as well. So yeah, I think that's how that would work. I'm working right now with a development team that's based out of Canada. It's their service. They send me an invoice, I pay it. So they're not an employee. So it's easy for me to do that. So I think as long as you're not an employee, I think it's pretty simple. It looks like Louise says, get familiar with Form W-8. I don't know what Ben is. So you don't pay taxes in the US. Okay, that's a really good note from Louise there.
Not accounting advice, but yeah, just get familiar, and then most likely you are going to be able to direct the potential client there.
Very interesting. Okay, thanks, Jill.
Yeah, thanks, Luis, and thanks, Julie, for that question. All right, I'm looking here. Let's see. Oh, yes. Sorry, Louise, I'm just not seeing your message. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Just looking through the things. Just because we're a junior in UX doesn't mean we should forget all about our existing experience. Yes. Follow me on LinkedIn. Yes. Grace, you have a question. I see. What's your question, Grace?
Oh, I already typed it in the chatting, but I will explain.
Oh,
So I have a degree
gotcha.
in digital media design. Master degree, and I actually want to go back to academia, to get PhD. And do you recommend it?
No. No, I'm just kidding. Take the classes you need to take. And again, it depends on the company you want to work for. Some companies require a degree. Most of the time, though, it's experience-based. I really appreciate the education I had around typography and interface design and understanding the tools and how to use them, and even kind of branding from a branding perspective. But you have a master's degree in digital media, and now you want a PhD in UX UI. I would do a little research, Grace, on who is hiring people with PhDs in UX and UI, and what they're making, and is the cost of what you're going to pay for that going to be worth it? And is it only because companies that it will give you access to that you would need this type of degree? I think you can go to a community college and learn some of the things, and as long as you practice it, but not to deter you from higher education at all, because also that is work and it will give you, you'll have confidence from it. But at the end of the day, does the cost and the time, does it balance out for what you're going to get paid and things like that. So I would be very strategic about it if you can. I'm not looking for anyone with a PhD in UX or UI. I don't know. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to look at their work. I'm going to see how they collaborate with me. And do they have a growth mindset? I don't care about someone's pedigree and this is me personally. But across the board, I think I can speak for a general mass here. I'm not looking for that PhD. Maybe if you're going to work for IDEO, or if you're, doing something in government, or, something like that, maybe if that's going to get you an executive level position. But like I said, consider what you're going to get paid in return, and if it's really makes sense. Is it just a badge of honor, or is it going to get you to where you really want to go in your career? So just my 2 cents.
Okay,
Great
thank
question.
you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Let's see, Celia, Jenna, I do see your hand up. Celia has a question about Behance. I just shared my project there, and the prototype came up very small. Celia, let's take that one to Slack. You're on Slack. Yes, Celia?
Yep,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah, message me. Let's do it in the group thread for the Adobe XD workshop channel. That way other people can see the answers. So at Jill, again, it's US is Thanksgiving, so I'm getting ready to tune out for a couple of days, but let's take that up there and give me a chance to look up some things too.
Sure, sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Grace, we answered yours. Carla, how do you think the Adobe acquisition of Figma affects current and future UX designers? Well, not an Adobe employee, but the sale acquisition isn't final. So it could take 6 months to a year. The Securities and Exchange Commission needs to look at it first to approve it. I think the acquisition isn't really going to change. Tools. I was using something called My Balsamic to prototype in the 2010, and then I was using screens in Illustrator and Photoshop, and then Sketch, and then Acture, and then Principle, and then on and on and on. So the design tools will definitely change over time. Our workflow and process does not. Hopefully the tools get easier to use and make our jobs easier to express our ideas and convey them more quickly to the product team and our stakeholders and developers. So I don't think it's going to change the future necessarily. Our work will still be our work. We'll still need to do research. We'll still need to do prototyping. Hopefully the tools will just keep getting better and better. So hopefully that helps answer that question, Carla, at least my opinion there. Academia got that. Greg posted a link to 810 or 8Ben, W8Ben. I don't know what that is. BEN? Anyway, academia. Cool. All right. Who had their hand up? Is she still here? Jenna, your turn, Jenna. Sorry. Thank you for your patience. Oh, you're muted, my dear.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. I completed a boot camp earlier this year, and I'm on the job market, and I just kind of want to know in the application phase if you have any tips on how to appear more attractive, how to make my application pop or more. Anything you suggest I should highlight or emphasize?
Without seeing it, it's hard to say. But one of the things I kind of rushed over it in my LinkedIn conversation is, do you have any type of metrics? So what was your career before this?
The greatest breadth of my work was in higher education. I was a professor. I was an adjunct.
Gotcha. So as an educator, do you think that you did anything that involved kind of design thinking or the UX process in the work that you did?
Definitely. Yeah. Tons.
Yeah. So
Um,
I would speak to it like that. And did those have positive impact?
They did.
Yeah, that's what I would speak to. I would highlight that, even though you're new to this, you've been doing it already in this capacity. That way it adds a little bit more longevity to this kind of mindset and how you're used to thinking. And now you want to apply it to, this, maybe digital design. Yeah, I think being an educator, you understand a little bit more how to speak to your audience. There's a lot of things that you did that relate to a UX designer. A UX designer has to educate their clients. They have to educate, other designers and developers. I would, any way that you can speak to that. And if there's any metrics around the work that you did, as it relates to this, that's what I would highlight.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps. Sarah has to go. Let's see. Thank you, Sarah, for joining. Jen, I know that was vague, but when you're kind of squared away to where you think it's good enough that you want us maybe start showing it, just shoot me a message in the Calgary Slack group. Say, hey, I have my LinkedIn. Can you take a look at it? And I can see if there's anything there that I think is worth highlighting a little bit more or diving deeper into. Or if you have a copy of your resume that you want to send over, I'm happy to take a look.
Oh yeah, I'll send one over.
Okay, sweet. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I think we answered all the questions. We're a little bit over. Luis has gone ahead and randomized someone who's going to get a 1 hour free mentorship with me. So hopefully the person wants it. They didn't know they signed up for it. Oh, here we go.
All right. Well, we have a beautiful online spinner with quite a lot of banners and stuff going on. So I'm going to start the spin. And yeah, I wish I had all the slots just for Luis, but yeah, being fair, I guess I'm just going to allow anybody that is going to be on the audience. And here we go. Oh, the excitement. All right.
So cool.
Wait. Greg. All right. Greg, congratulations. You have an hour mentorship. Yeah. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Oh, that's amazing. I hope it's not a hopeless cause, but thank you.
No worries.
Never.
No worries. Yeah, I'm excited. Greg, again, you've been thinking about this for a while, so I'm excited to spend that time with you. I will send over a Calendly link for you to pick an hour. And I think something else too, I'm just going to throw this out here spontaneously. Luis, you let me know if this is something you want to do with the group. But I am happy to do, maybe 30 to 45 minute session on resumes or case studies or something like that. We can do a group conversation, anybody that wants to share their stuff. And, I think I end up answering the same questions over and over, and I love doing it in a group because I think it helps. But even though everybody's path here is different, there's some similarities and some things to learn from. So, Luis, I can work with you if we want to set something like that up with the Calgary UX group. So